Hello, welcome to any combo lords joining me in the nighttime here. It's a Friday night, so we can be out here for an hour or two and hope not to worry the neighbors too much. Although I realized one of tonight's activities may involve a hammer. That's not a good sign. Sorry. But today I wanted to do another little live stream, partially just because I enjoy doing them every few days to fill in some extra fun facts, extra natural occurrences around here, and other thoughts. And also because today we can celebrate. Let's light some candles to celebrate. What we're celebrating is that this channel is at 1/6 of a million subscribers. Still, well, about to hit. I don't know if it's quite hit it yet. It's gonna hit it either during the stream or slightly after the stream later tonight. It's the exact amount of that is 166,666 point infinite sixes. 166,666 and 2/3 is really 1/6 of a million. However, we hopefully don't have 2/3 of a subscriber. That sounds like a dark story. So hopefully we'll round up and say that when we had 166,667, that will be 1/6. In general, I realize that although it's nice to take the term of, say we're at 1/6 of a million, that takes two different units, or two different numerical bits to describe. 1/6 times 1 million. Well, we can condense those if we call it 1,000,000 sixths. Although 1/6 of a million doesn't sound that much different than 1,000,000 sixths. 1/6 of a million is the ova implies a times sign, and that there's two things with a times sign. Of often means multiplication. And when we go million sixths, however, it's just one thing, one fraction. And the million part is very base dependent. So 1,000,000 sixths is not a classic number along the lines of, say, a highly composite number or something. But 1 million is a base-dependent thing that is very glorified and changes the way it shows up on channels with how many subscribers. You get the M's instead of the K's, which are a whole nother bad story. I was going to call this one M/6, because we could say the unit M the way that they say it in YouTube and in most social media for how many subscribers or views or whatever. M means million on the social medias. So it seems like M/6 would be a good descriptor here, 1,000,000/6. But M really should mean 1,000. That's actually what the mil means in terms of any other unit. If you have a milligram, it's not a millionth of a gram. It relates to thousandths and thousands. So yeah, M it's a little weird that the social media has turned it into million, so I didn't go with M/6. But in any case, I think that out of all the base-dependent bits, if it's already base-dependent enough that we're going toward a big next goal would be to have 1,000,000 subscribers, well, then instead of seeing like 200,000 as a big landmark, well, I guess that is one, because that's 1/5 of a million. But instead of seeing like 170,000 as a landmark, just because that is more zeros than 166,666 and 2/3, well, oh my God, I'm accidentally doing another 666 stream. Somebody was like, why did you do a few videos in a row that were like about 666 while you're out in the dark lighting candles being all cursed? And I was like, all right, I'll chill off that for a minute. I'm accidentally doing it again. The number is 166,666. Oh man. Okay, this one was unintentional to everybody who gets spooked by the number 666 while I'm out here in the dark with the candles talking about it. This one was genuinely unintentional that the number has 666 in it. Okay. Anyway, we're rounding up to 667. You're not scared of that one, are you? So, in any case, if we're going to be all base dependent-y, 1/6 of that goal is a pretty good one, because we like sixths. 6 is, I've said, in some ways the most underrated number, but I could see another argument for 1/6 being the most underrated number, because 1/6 does show up in enough things, like a mirror to 6, but it's talked about a lot less. 6 at least gets some credit. But 1/6, not everyone talks about how we can mirror a lot of the traits. I mean, they're linked. Like, we could say that multiples of 6 are the numbers that 1/6 of them is a whole number. But we can also convert patterns, like how 1 + 2 + 3 = 6. Let's divide each side of that equation by 6. We get 1/6 plus 1/3 plus 1/2 = 1, which is true. And then we get some cool things about 1/6. We get, so like 1/2 and 1/3 have got to be fundamental. Those are like the first unit fractions after 1/1. Well, 1/2 minus 1/3 is 1/6 because of all that. Also, we could say that 1 minus 1/2 minus 1/3, and the reason I threw that in seemingly randomly is it's 1/1. It's 1/1. So then we're using, if you want to use all three of the first three unit fractions, 1/1 minus 1/2 minus 1/3, 1/6. Now, of course, we can also get there by multiplying 1/1 times 1/2 times 1/3, 1/6. And that's a conversion of the fact that 1 times 2 times 3 is 6. So 1/6 gets a lot of 6's cool traits, and it's not talked about as much. So in some ways, maybe 1/6 is the most underrated number. I don't know. So you see 6 as a denominator of more, or definitely a multiple of 6, but even just 6 itself as a denominator of a lot of classic fractions and weird equations. You know that the sum of the reciprocals of the squares, when we get into that in an episode, I've shown it in a short once. 1/1 plus 1/4 plus 1/9 plus 1/16, and etc. converges toward pi squared sixths. Pi squared over 6. So, sixths is a hard one to say and make sure that you know people are saying you're saying that. It sounds almost like sixes. So, sixths, you really gotta clearly if you want people to know you're fractionizing it. So, yeah, unfortunately, the sixiest number did not get the best combo with, like, when you end in a sound that sounds kind of similar to like then it's 6. So that's a silly sound. We got so many sounds available, but prefixes and suffixes make sense. If anything, they all should have been or pick one like that. Like sevenths, eighths. If that's what you're going with, it's okay. If sixths is weird, we'll go with oneths and tooths and threeths. Should have been. Just pick one suffix. What's up with the first, second, third, and then we get to the pattern. 4th, 5th, 6th. Okay. So, thank you all for joining me, checking out the comment here. And also, the one problem with the dividing way is if we are phrasing it as I have 1,000,000 subscribers, that could be phrased as that I have 1 million times like 1/6 of a subscriber, which is the math adds up. But I hope we don't have all of you are 1/6 of a person. So, and that there's actually 1 million of you, but you're each 1/6 of a person. But no. Okay. In any case, all of you have been okay, so people don't like the 6, or one person doesn't like the 666 in the comments. Okay, I'll make sure to stop saying 666 if people do not like the saying of 666 that much. We'll make sure to talk about 665 and 667 a lot. So that should be safe. So now, thank you all for joining me here today. Somebody said octopuses should be octopi, though. And in fact, the plural of octopus will come up because someday we're going to do another language episode about pluralization. The language episodes are somewhat mockeries of the English language, in addition to facts, because as opposed to finding things about numbers that we can marvel at and enjoy, when we find all these weird quirks of the English language, some of them are appreciable, but a lot of them are pretty silly. So one of those is pluralization. And it turns out octopi is correct, so is octopuses, so is, I don't know if it's pronounced octopodes or octopodes, but octopodes. That's another one to do it. And it turns out that octopi, a lot of people do say, but it's not quite as common as either octopuses or the octopodes, octopodes, whatever that is. So pluralization's a whole rabbit hole we'll go down someday. But in fact, about our next episode to note, our next one is a slight divergence from math because, in fact, I have some dice that remind me of this. I've been looking at some of the rare dice I've gotten recently. Like, for example, last stream we looked at some of the cool mail that I got from some combo lords at the mailbox and the address. It included some dice, and we're going to follow the instructions more over time, but these are some strange amounts of faces. Like, it had 19-sided dice in here, 17-sided dice, and so on. But I was looking at other dice I had as well. We'll figure out more about the equation of how that helps us with random number generalization on another stream or something. But here I had some other random extra dice around. And I don't know if I've shown these to the video yet or not, some of the random ones I have. These were given to me by a friend. But there were two that randomly reminded me out of this little pile that I had of random other dice. Out of a lot of dice. We have a little dice carpet over there. I need to show that in more episodes. You guys can't see it that well because it's on the floor. So I need to pan down more, get Carlo to point at the ground when he's filming, because there's a carpet of dice. Whenever it rains, the dice are on the ground and get stepped on, and they're like flat, as like they're part of the ground now. But these dice are out of the ground, and they have different things on them, like different things on the faces. These aren't weird amounts of sides for these, but rather weird what's on them. And one reminded me of the last episode I put out. I put out an episode maybe 4 days ago on the Combo Class channel about the Collatz conjecture in binary. That one's doing pretty good, so shout out to everyone who's seen that. It's linked in the description if you haven't yet. And one thing that relates to that is, with the Collatz loops, you're kind of striving to hit a power of 2. Because if you hit a power of 2, it's very easy to prove or justify that that will go down to 421, 421, which is a loop you're trying to test if all the numbers do. And so it's one of the first steps when you think about the problem is to notice, okay, powers of 2 definitely go down there. So then you're kind of wondering, do other numbers get to a power of 2? Because they kind of have to hit a power of 2 to get down there, even if the power of 2 they hit isn't that far from the 4 or 2 or 1 itself. They sort of at some point have to be at a power of 2. 4, 2, and 1 are powers of 2 themselves. Well, 1 is if you count the 0th power. So what if you add a power of 2 dice? Now, this one does not count the 0th power. This starts from the first power. This is a power of 2 dice. You have 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. So that might come in handy someday. These are numbers where if we look at the Collatz conjecture from one of these numbers, very simple. Just hops down to other faces of this die. And in fact, if I had found this one like a week ago, I probably would have put this in the episode, this little visualization, even though, oh no, there's not a 1, so it wouldn't have worked. But it's like 4 to 2, and then it would go to 1 to 4 to 1. And obviously 8 goes there. If you don't know what I mean, the episode's linked. Well, another one of these reminded me of the next episode. Now, I said next episode's a slight divergence from math. Sometimes I've said that on even the main combo class channel, where we have been focused on a lot of math because I've been enjoying, finishing those episodes that I have billions of notes ready in my brainstorms, and people have been liking them. So we're rolling with a lot of math. But originally, combo class, some of the first episodes I ever planned, and in fact, even some of the extra footage I have from like earlier incarnations that never got finished of combo class, were related to what I call snack breaks, where you sort of analyze some botany about something edible, which is an excuse, and sometimes we veered with that mood to a different thing, like there was one that was a bubble break, or, we were looking at bubbles, so it's not 100% snacks that we do this mood, but once in a while we veer toward a mood that sometimes goes toward snack break. We do that on this channel as well sometimes. That is... In fact, like the streams often have one of those tucked in because the streams are long enough to get a lot of different things. But when you're on the main combo class channel looking at the full episodes, you may notice that every, like I've said, 5th to 10th of them or so diverges toward like a little snack break. And the snack breaks, in fact, are, although they started kind of casual as like my times to fill in some extra little philosophy and details and have some fun and stuff, some of them have grown rather important to me, and this is one of the ones I've been planning for a while, that although it's in the snack break category, that snack break isn't going to fit in the title or thumbnail, because I went down the conspiracy rabbit hole in a mostly joking way, maybe only half joking, of a conspiracy about peels of fruits. And so make sure that when the new snack break comes out, probably around Sunday-ish, that you check that out. And what reminded me of that is I said every 5th to 10th episode, we diverge from something like numbers to do something like a snack break. And first of all, there's many reasons I do that. It's not just because I have fun doing that and I want to film that once in a while and turn it into something. It's also a good way to draw in other people who may not normally like math, and then they'll watch the math episodes and learn. And it's also a good way for people who already like the math to force themselves to think about another side of life, like nature or botany or whatever. And it also fulfills a lot of other duties, like letting me fill in a slightly more casual episode where I can fill in more various thoughts as opposed to having one strict mathematical goal. But although many episodes have a varied goal. But in any case, with the many reasons why I might make every, say, 6th or so episode a snack break. I'd been saying every 5th to every 10th, but really it's closer to 5th. I've said that one more often. So what's between 5th and 10th, but closer to 5th? 6th. You know how this stream's kind of about 6ths? Well, what does 6th relate to all this? Well, dice have 6 faces, so like this has a 1/6 chance of rolling a 3. This has a 1/6 chance of rolling the 32. And this one, sort of like my episodes, has a 5 out of 6 chance that you're going to roll something numerical. Well, we might not always have 5/6 of the episodes be math, we'll see, but right now it's been veering toward that. But right now it's sort of like, 5/6 of the time you might get something sort of quite mathematical, like these, numerical things we see here. And then, oops, where's the last one we haven't shown? 5. And 1/6 of the time, you might get a snack break. What is up with this die? Oh, is this flipped or something? Am I backwards? Is that the right direction to you guys? It looks backward on my thing. Let me see over here. Yeah, why am I backwards? What happened? Is this better? Or did I mess it up? Tell me if this is better or if I messed it up. Okay, so bagels, for some reason, is the sixth face of this die. No, I do not know what the purpose of this die was that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in bagels. Let me know in a comment if for some reason you know what this originally was created for. But in any case, I thought it, funnily enough, sort of symbolizes what we've been doing with the episodes, because I was like, yeah, most of the time we do something numerical, but like somewhere like a little less than a fifth of the time we do a snack break. So there's a lot of fun ones here. There's also this one that's like, looks to be 3D printed and homemade. My friend got it at a thrift store, so I don't know who made it, but this one looks like somebody homemade it in a 3D printer, which is interesting. So this one I might not trust the odds on quite as well, but still pretty cool. And this one, there was one here that looked like it goes to like Monopoly or something, because there's like 1, 2, 3, and then like Monopoly guy, or something like that, and then bus. Does that one go to jail or something? I don't know. So yeah, we would play Monopoly here, but then we would have a 7-hour boring stream. Nah, the game could be fun, but it's pretty long and it can get kind of boring. So when we do game theory, Monopoly's not first on the list of game theory. So I don't know, I had fun playing it at times as a kid, but it's definitely not first on our game theory analysis list. So those were some little dice I wanted to share. And to wrap up that, I will note that the next snack break, definitely make sure to watch it. It will be called something along the lines of that there's an edible peel conspiracy. And there's a lot of rare scenes in that one. I had a lot of fun filming that over the last couple weeks. And so that should be out around Sunday. I'm going to stop saying the exact date, except on occasions I'm tempted to. It's fun to say, like, it's coming out on this day. But I don't know. I'm going to appreciate the fact that I get to be my own boss with this, and that I finish them as soon as I'm able to. And I don't have to say it's going to be out Sunday at 10 a.m. and I have to stay up all night Saturday if it's not ready. The episodes come out on a pretty good schedule. This one, it will be, if it comes out Sunday, that's less than a week from the last one. But I think it's likely to come out around then. And I'll try and be vaguer with my promises. So then, under promise and over deliver is better. So let me take a peek at our chat before we move on to another subject. Real quick, thank you all for joining me. Can't answer all the stuff because there's a few things to chat about here I still got on my mind, something to show here. But thank you all for joining me. Love you all. One other thing I wanted to show here is, so I left fruit out from the snack break, and you know what fruit unfortunately draws? Flies. And so there's been flies around the combo classroom the past couple days because there was some fruit left out one day from a chaotic snack break scene. And so, although I moved the fruit and cleaned it, there may be a fly or two lingering. I can't see them because it's dark. They're not bothering me here. But in the daytime, I may notice one or two more. And I figured, the only way to deal with that is that I have a Venus flytrap. I'm just joking. But I'm not joking about the part you think I'm joking about. There are flies, and I do have a Venus flytrap. The only part I'm joking about is that I didn't bring it to eat the flies. I only brought it to show the stream, because it has already eaten a lot of flies, and I looked up that they're not supposed to eat that often, so I feel like it's going to get a stomachache if I feed it any more flies. It's getting a lot in the spot it was living indoors. Now, this thing the problem is maybe this is better suited for little micro flies, you know, your little fruit flies, or maybe even the hover flies that I said were possibly growing out of that pond. But it's been eating the big flies, you know, those big ones. It's like, let's take a look. It maybe ate a hover fly or something in that one. But take a look at, and there's another smaller fly. That's what it maybe wants to be eating, although that one's not closed. But take a look at this. It couldn't even chomp down on this one. I think it was too full. I think too many of its mouths were already eating stuff. Because these mouths all go to one plant. And you see that whole fly in there? So, like that whole fly right there, it has some of those in the closed ones. When it came, all these were open. You see how some are open? Everyone was open when it came. It has chomped down on so many flies. Like now more than half of them are shut. And if you look like with a light up to it, you can sort of see in there a little like shadow of the bug. I don't have a good flashlight. I'm not going to hold a candle up to it. The plant would hate that. But sometime I will try and get a dark place where I can hold a flashlight up to it. Because looking through it, you can like see a shadow of a bug that's kind of hard to display on the camera here. So this thing's pretty cool. I've always thought that one of the ways I may eventually go is by getting into by like eventually die someday, if the spies don't get me first, is going to be getting into botany and then making a really big carnivorous plant of a new species that I breed, and it eats me, getting eaten by my own creation. So, you know, if you ever wonder where I am and you come see that I've been really into botany and there's a really full, happy-looking carnivorous plant, maybe wonder about that one. But no, I'm mostly kidding because I love carnivorous plants. I actually do want to get more big ones. I think they're really cool. I think they're wild. So maybe we'll get more and more carnivorous plants. Sort of matches the vibe of our staghorn fern here, which actually relates to another thing I wanted to show. Now the staghorn fern, I'm going to need to shine like, maybe I'll just use my phone flashlight for now. The staghorn fern is a classic side element of our combo classroom. And there's something new on top of it. I'm going to move it later after I show this stuff. Later I'll clear this off because I don't know. Well, I won't move all of it for a reason you'll see. But I don't know if the staghorn fern likes all of it up there, so we'll see. The staghorn fern, I also need to try misting it and giving it maybe some extra moisture now that it's not raining for a bit. But there's something new up there that I wouldn't have put up there that something else put up there. Now, if you're an avid combo class viewer, you can probably guess what put something up there. Like, what would have put something up there that would have been here? Well, we get a lot of squirrels, you know? And in fact, one of the main topics we're going to look at in a minute has to do with our squirrel friends. But the squirrels, they like eating a lot of stuff. You'll see them running by. I've been giving them nuts sometimes. They'll be snacking on stuff. And I saw them snacking on something a little different the other day. Let me pull open the clip I have of this. So here's a little video of the squirrel on top of a roof here, snacking on something I didn't know they were that into. Oh man, it's doing the thing where it just freezes on the last thing. I don't know why it does this every time. That was like an older thing I had for the holiday page for what holiday is today. I was going to check later. I need to redo this every time, add a new screen capture for it to actually see the new stuff going on. So we get chaos mode for a second. And then after chaos mode, we get what we were trying to get, which was this video. Now, the squirrel was eating this. Look at this. See that squirrel? I don't know if you can see what that is. That's a pine cone. So it's a green pine cone before they get browner and dry up and fall off. Or something very similar to a pine cone. Maybe not, because a pine cone, not everyone remembers, means pine tree. There's a type of tree called pine tree that has pine cones. But so maybe there's a pine cone-esque cone, but we'll call it a pine cone, presuming that's what it is. This squirrel got that from some tree somewhere and apparently likes nibbling on it. Well, it doesn't look like it can eat that whole thing right away. It like chipped a little bit off. What's it going to do with that little bit that chipped off? They're good at saving stuff for later. Where would a squirrel possibly want to save something like that for later? Well, when I was filming, I was like, what's this weird thing on top of the staghorn fern? What is this thing up here? And when I looked, it's the pine cones. There's two, at least, that have the shells. Like, look, here's one of the pine cones with that green bit still and that shredded bit. Here's another one that's more dried and shredded. And here's like all of the stuff they picked off of it and saved to eat for later. This must be like good stuff they're storing up for winter here or something. Now, I don't want it to weigh down the staghorn fern, but I don't want to remove all the squirrel stuff, so I need to figure out what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll restack it up on that shelf or something. So that's pretty neat that the squirrels just decided, hey, look, we're going to stash this stuff in the combo classroom on top of the staghorn fern. So yeah, the squirrels do funny stuff. Apparently they like eating pine cones, or whatever cone that is, as well. Now, I don't have a pine cone for the squirrels today, unfortunately. All I have for the squirrels, if I had something for the squirrels, we wouldn't even be able to see a squirrel necessarily tonight, but it would be cool to have something to get ready to put out for whatever squirrels want to come in the morning, to get them extra comfortable around here again. So it's too bad that all I have for the squirrels is a giant bag of full walnuts that are their favorite type of nut. So, I'd say we should crack open some walnuts. Now, I need to make sure that I have a good hammer, a good way to do this, to actually crack open a few, because I want to try eating a walnut from here out of the shell, which I haven't had in a while, fresh out of the shell, if it's any different. And then I want to put some up for the squirrels. And what we're going to do is, after we crack our walnuts, and, we'll save some of them to crack throughout the week, we'll slowly lead a trail of the squirrels to the desk, because our end goal is still getting the squirrels so comfortable that they're willing to hang out on the desk while I'm teaching and while I'm doing a lesson for a video, that the squirrels can be teaching simultaneously their own nut cracking tutorial, perhaps. And so we're going to maybe tonight just put them on the shelf they know, and some like on the top of the clocks. And then we'll make a little like ramp, and then we'll over the course of the next week or month, maybe we can steer them with their favorite types of nut all the way to the desk. Now, they don't even need them cracked necessarily, but we'll give them some of each type. I did look up online, they enjoy having them whole sometimes, and it can even sharpen their teeth apparently, so it can even be good for them. And like give them something to do. It keeps them busy. They get to crack it open. But we're going to give it to them both styles. We're going to give them some shelled, some unshelled. We're not going to make them too full. We'll give them like 1 or 2 shelled and 1 or 2 unshelled. And we'll try some ourselves. Let me make sure I have a good hammer and surface and stuff ready here. So I'll be back in like 2 or 3 minutes with all of our walnut cracking supplies. And I am going to follow the combo class rule. One of my rules, this isn't even one I put technically on the combo class rules list, but it's one that I mentioned to people who come here who are filming here, that, oh, we can get crazy with the fire as long as we, have our precautionary things like hoses ready. And by crazy, I mean actually in a contained way. But if we ever have any type of fire, even if it's a little candle like this, that you cannot leave them unattended. That does not count someone watching them digitally. So I'm going to blow these candles out while I go grab hammers and stuff to get our walnut scenario ready. I'm also going to put the Venus flytrap back inside because I don't want this to get injured from any combo classroom antics. And like I said, even though I wanted to show it to the stream, the fact that we have flies out here from the fruit is unrelated to this being here because I think this thing's full. I don't think this thing needs any more flies. I think I purposefully didn't bite down on some of these because it was full. So I don't know. I'm going to put this back, do that stuff. I'll be back soon. I love you all. All right. I think I know how we're going to get the walnuts open, which will be if we just do the hammer on the desk. I think that'll be to film in the daytime in case the desk breaks. If I do the hammer on the desk, I feel like there's like a chance that the desk leg would break or something. If we do the hammer on the brick, I think that'll give it a better surface. Less, when you hit something, if it bends more, there can be less damage to the thing in between. We want the thing under to not bend, so there's maximum damage to the thing in between, the shell of the walnut. So, oh man, the one thing I didn't bring is a knife. Okay, good thing this is an easier to rip one. And these bags are impossible to rip. When you get you ever bought scissors or something, and the only way to open the scissors is with scissors? It's like, come on, you companies. How much you're that scared of someone shoplifting your scissors that you're going to make it that hard on everyone who actually bought the scissors? So, here we have some of these. And leave your opinion. What do you think about nuts? What's your favorite nut? I think that if I had to pick a favorite nut, I don't know if all of these are technically botanically nuts. That's going to be its own snack break someday. What is and isn't botanically a nut? Because cashews grow on crazy trees from these fruits, and peanuts are legumes and stuff. But using the typical cultural nut definition, I would say you got to put near the top. Cashews are pretty great. Pistachios are pretty great. Almonds are solid. Those pack some nutrition. There's peanuts are solid. Walnuts are pretty good. Pecans, however you say that one's good. There's a lot of good nuts out there. Brazil nuts are a funny one. They contain this thing called selenium, which is this element that you're not supposed to have that much of. Brazil nuts are the big nut that you see in the nut mixes, and apparently if you ate 50 of those in the same day, you could be hospitalized. They never tell anybody that. And if you eat one of them a week, it's great for you. You want a little of the mineral, but it has this really different, strong mineral that you don't want to have 50 Brazil nuts at a time. So I do have the hammer here as well, which we're going to try not to be too noisy with this. So, you get a good amount of nut in there. This thing is, they're probably breeding these things better, they're breeding fruits better. So, I got some fruits here, too, we're going to see in a bit. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I swear even just in the 30 years I've been alive, that they've made the fruits bigger, and I'm totally for it. So keep doing your breeding techniques as long as you're not using too many pesticides or whatever. Do all your breeding techniques to keep enlarging the fruits and shrinking the pits. I like that they're getting the pits pretty small too, because you want a good ratio. Some people hate cherries because they've only had cherries that have mostly skin. And it's sort of your ratio of it is 50% fruit and 50% seed. And some of that fruit is skin too. But in a good cherry, you get 90% fruit and 10% seed. And so they're making these things better. That's going to be an episode someday, because if you look at old watermelons from paintings and stuff, ooh boy, did old watermelons suck. Let me show you what I mean. There's old watermelon paintings. Oh god, this better not pull open anything racist looking this open. There's a bad history of watermelons and racism against black people. So luckily this did not pull open anything related to that on Google. And this is showing old paintings of watermelon from super 500 years ago, maybe about. And could be even older. Let's see. And Renaissance era. And what we have here is what the watermelon used to kind of look like. Look how bad it was. This is the watermelon was all these the white bit was harder to eat, sort of pithy. And you get these little curls of meat. It's like a little curl of watermelon. That's what you get? What the heck? It's like, not even talking about how much seed there is in the ratio. There's more air than watermelon. So, yeah, they're making fruits better. So that's pretty cool. And one of my goals is that if I ever have children someday, maybe we can sit down at the dinner table and eat a blueberry with knives and forks. Everyone gets a blueberry on their plate, and you ought to eat it with a knife and fork because it's so big that what are you going to do with it otherwise? So, now, here we have a pretty good-sized nut out of there. Now, I wonder if it tastes fresher from being out of there. Let me see. I haven't had other walnuts in a while, but it's good. Tastes pretty fresh. It's a good nut. All right, here's something up there. Is that a squirrel or is it a cat? That's a cat. Who's up there? Oops. Who's up there? Hey. Is that Sage Sass? Oh, they're moving up. They went somewhere. Okay. That's good. Now, we're going to crack some more because that was actually really good. I want to eat another. That was surprisingly good. And then maybe they are better fresh. I don't think there's been that many times I ate a walnut out of like a mixed nut bag and I was like, I need another walnut. But right now I'm like, I want another walnut. It tasted good. So we're going to get me one more, and then we'll give the squirrels, we'll just start, we don't want to overfeed them. So we'll give the squirrels one in the shell and one out of the shell. One of my other neighbors, I think, also gives the squirrels shelled walnuts, possibly, because I've seen them with the shelled walnuts, and I think I've seen or heard that the neighbor gives them walnuts. So we don't want to overfeed them, but these squirrels are already not hunting. They're just eating the fruit off our trees otherwise, and I think they prefer nuts to fruit, and then they'll eat less of our figs and stuff too. But in general, be careful. Look it up if you ever feed wild animals. I made sure to look stuff up before I did this because, A, if I'd given them randomly like super salty nuts, that'd be bad for their diet. You got to look it up. In this case, squirrels, unsalted they like. So there are facts you need to look up first. And also, if it's a wild animal that's not already like citied out, like just eaten out of city stuff, and even if it's one of those, you don't want to get it too hooked on not hunting and just scavenging for your food, because then what if you're gone for the weekend? How's it going to hunt? They need to know how to hunt and teach their kids to hunt and stuff. So it can be a problem when people like feed birds at parks and then the birds teach their kids just to like look for bread givers instead of how to hunt and stuff. So look it up before you feed any animals in the wild. But these squirrels, we're all in the clear. We're going to be giving these squirrels some mad nuts. We're going to be luring them to the desk. Now, I've always thought of walnuts as really hard to crack. People use these giant nutcracker crazy mechanisms and stuff. I think you just need to have a hammer and a hard enough surface under it. I don't think it would be that easy if I was doing it on the desk. I think the brick really helps. These are really easy to crack. Never found a walnut that easy to crack either. So, maybe they're just some good walnuts and we're hooking up the squirrels. Okay. Just testing for the squirrels, folks. Just give me a second. I gotta test for the squirrels. Okay. Okay. Tested. There's no poison. Now we can give some to the squirrels. So, we're going to give them one whole and one cracked. But actually what we're going to do is with the cracked one, I'll leave the shell around it. I'll let them peel it open. I just made it so it's like really easy for them to get it out of there and bust it open, but it's like ready to go. And then we'll have one that's fully in there because online it said it's good for sharpening their teeth. there. And the extra good one will go a little closer. Well, actually, maybe they'll find the full one extra good, because this one might be stale in the morning or something. So there will be that one. And this one will be here, because they'll come down there. They're willing to go down there, and we'll move this so it does less stuff to fall and collapse on them. We'll put it right there. So they're going to go down and get that. They will smell it and see it and stuff. And then that will bring them a little closer to the desk. So that next nut we'll put here, and then we'll put some nuts here and keep going. Get closer and closer. I forgot to relight the candles. Those helped with the lighting. I can always... Here's the thing. We live in a world of technology. My computer is actually really good at brightening it, so if I really need, I can do that. But I think it's more fun to have some cool natural lighting. So we only brighten it as much as necessary for whatever lighting we can't provide naturally. There. In fact, I'm going to start filming more episode footage at night sometimes, because the shadows are so wild at night. Look at this. I was looking at the wall, and just like when I was shining a light on this, I don't know if you can get it with a candle, but when I had the phone flashlight, look at this. It's like, you get these like, I don't know if you can see that whole cage. You can get these crazy different cages of reflections from this Toro flux right there. And shadows just do wild things. So I'm definitely going to need to play with shadows a bit more in the episodes, which might require filming at night, or filming in some caves, or a really dark center of an undersea volcano, or like some really dark... There was this one place I went once that was sort of spooky that made me realize something about light, that it was... There's these islands around the Bay Area that have weird, like, old military stuff on them. One of them is called Angel Island, and it's this big island where I went once hiking. I've been there a few times. You have to take a boat out there because it's an island. And there are, like, boats that you can just take almost like a bus, like a ferry, to get there, because it's a touristy enough place. It's not like a secret island. But there's some weird trails if you go up it that lead to like these old abandoned, I think, military bases or something like that. I don't know, some weird old abandoned stuff. And they had these cement corridors. And I went in this cement corridor. This was when I was just like 10 or 12 or something. And I remember it was daytime, and I went through a cement hallway, and there was a sharp turn that went like more than 90 degrees, and it was pitch black. And I was like, that is so weird. How is it pitch black in the daytime? Like, just like right around the bend from this sunny day. And it made me realize that, like, if light doesn't have something to reflect off, and it's just like around a curve, yeah, it can be pitch black in the daytime. The light needs something to reflect off. And maybe I can find that zone again. That would have some good shadows. I mean, obviously, if you bring some light, otherwise everything's a shadow. But that's a good shadow. We're going to start doing pitch black episodes. Oh, man, there's some modern art shadow. Now, let me take a look at our comments before we move on to any other topics. Now, we have some various comments of people's favorite nuts. Somebody said to show them a spirally melon. Oh, it was the melon we already looked at? Yeah. And somebody says YouTube limits the characters so they can't type every one they have. If you mean your favorite nuts and you can't fit them all in there, I feel it. Like if somebody asked me my favorite fruits and it was a YouTube comment, I would say something like, that is too deep to cover in a comment on a social media. That will require a long response. So, somebody said they can't wait for the 10 to the 6th power over 1.5 stream. Well, that'd be going backwards. If the denominator... Wait. No, over 1.5. Oh, that means we're halfway. Yeah, over 1.5, so... 10 to the 6th power over 1.5 stream. Well, that'd be going backwards. If the denominator... Wait. No, over 1.5. Oh, that means we're halfway. Yeah, over 1.5, so... 10 to the 6th power over 1.5 stream. Well, that'd be going backwards. If the denominator... Wait. No, over 1.5, so... Yeah, so that means close. Okay, yeah, I'm getting confused because right now we're at 10 to the 6 over 6, so that would be bigger. But that won't be what we'll call that one, probably. We're going up by fractions of the millions. And it's sort of a joke because I just have a stream to do every couple days. So instead of just calling it like Domotro Live again Friday night, it's fun to give some random title. Sometimes I don't know which topics I'm going to get into. So like I almost was putting all up in the title and description, walnuts, staghorn ferns and all this stuff. But there's like, sometimes I have a lot of topics that I might cover, and so I'm not sure which I'll get into. So then after the fact, I might fill them in. Probably after this title will get something in parentheses saying about like, oh, cracking walnuts and doing this and that. But as everyone knows, these do post in video form on the live tab here after the fact. They do take a little while for the HD and the chat to come in. I can't really speed that up. Just takes YouTube some hours to do that. But they are always available to watch after if you come late or miss one. And they're also less like mandatory in quotes to be, you know, attending combo class and watch every bit of one of these. It's awesome for those who do. There's probably a few combo lords out there in existence who have seen all of my videos, but I mean, including all the streams, probably not many because I do a 2-hour stream every few days practically. But I mean, I don't know if this will be 2 hours, but they often get pretty long. But in any case, okay, enough ranting. Thank you all for joining me here. We're going to move on to 1 or 2 more topics. My point was that make sure you watch all the main combo class episodes and just stick around for which portions of the streams you are able to, and save the ones you think you might find interesting in your watch later catalog. And as I have time, I'll try and get back into having me or someone else on a potential team I'll build add timestamps to more of them, which sometimes I add timestamps to them after. Don't always have time recently to do that, but I will try and at some point get back into the zone of being able to have timestamps for most of them. But in general, save these to watch when you're bored at night or when you happen to be around when you're live or whatever. Or if you want to make sure you get every inch of combo lordness out of what's available. Now, there is a lot of other fun stuff coming this month, but we won't really spoil it. I will just say there will be fun stuff coming. Sorry, this is the boring part of the stream, but I do have to throw it in. There is the thing on the channel that says join now. That is because I did have this deadline for YouTube to probably give me a bonus if I set up a thing called memberships on here. So I haven't added anything special or cool to that yet. So it's going to be just if, like, for some reason, if you want to support me and you didn't like using Patreon, that's available on here. But there will be actual stuff on there at some point, which I'll let you know. A more announcement that it's like a thing when I've actually linked some behind the scenes extra videos or whatever. When I find a way to link the same ones that go to some Patreon people. So, in any case, thank you all for joining me and looking around at different thoughts in the comments and stuff. So, I did have, although I know this might seem like, okay, you're talking about the nuts and then moving on to more, you're going to do a snack break next, but it's another snack-like topic that is pretty interesting that I do have to present. And it's a snacky week because we're doing the snack break over the weekend. Sometimes we clump our topics, like I did a stream about the Collatz conjecture after the episode about that. This time we're going sort of the other way around. We got some sorts of fruit-like things here. Actually, are walnuts fruit? No, they would define these as seeds. However, chestnuts and hazelnuts are fruits. Okay, cool. So, alright. That was already the peel. Okay. You gotta be more careful when you eat these ones, because That was part of the peel. There we go. So yeah, our next episode about edible peels is not going to include these. The edible peel conspiracy does not have a scene involving me eating a whole walnut. Sorry. There is stuff about as crazy as that, though, in the episode. Make sure you watch the whole thing. It's going to be a crazy next episode. Even if you just think you're here for the math, trust me, it'll be good for your soul to watch some crazy fruit stuff. But in any case, the other fruit-related thing I have to share is I was getting some more fruit at the store that isn't related to the episode because, like I hinted, the episode's going to have something to do with edible peels. And it's an edible peel conspiracy. So it relates to peels that are not expected to be edible. The things I have here have edible peels, but they're obviously edible, so there's no reason to put these in the episode. But there's a different botanical thing I noticed about some things here that was sort of interesting to me. So, I really like stone fruits. Stone fruits include cherries. I would say could be considered my favorite fruit. In fact, stone fruits include almonds. Not walnuts quite, though. Stone fruits include apricots, peaches and nectarines and stuff. They include plums. Don't I have a plum around here somewhere? They include plums. Normally I'm used to... so there's like a size difference off here. I'm used to like apricots and plums often being like a similar size maybe. But look, plum, apricot. What's going on here? Yeah, there were like, I picked the smallest apricot or two they had out of this type because I thought it was funny how small these were. I'm going to try eating this one in like one bite in a minute. But not with the seed. It's not the edible seed episode. But here, not only do stone fruits contain those all, but you can do cool mixes. We looked in a previous episode, or a previous stream, not episode yet, about how there's like trees of many fruits, where you can make stone fruit trees that have different branches that are grafted of different stone fruits. So that, kind of like an apple tree can have two types of apple on it or more on different branches. You could have a tree that one branch was apricots and another was plums. You can also combine them. They can be bred together in interesting ways. And when you breed them together, there were a few names that I was familiar with, combinations of these having. I had heard about and eaten at times in the past things called Apriums, which are like apricot and plum combined, as well as things called Pluots, which are the other way around, like a plum but apricot. And so I assumed that's probably the percentage of what they were, but it gets a little deeper. Well, first of all, this is the type, I only got one type of the, what was called Pluots here. Where are those? Where'd the Pluots go? Back? Here we go. And these were actually a yellow-looking type. And I guess that's because plums can be yellow-looking or purple-looking. But then I was looking around, and there were these orangish Pluots. There were dark purple giant Pluots that were almost looked like this. There were like every shade and color of them that were called Pluots there. But I'm not sure if they were using the term fully right, because it seems to be a term, actually, that refers to a particular breed that, like, some company made a bunch of fruits out of once. Or I don't know about company, if that's the right word, but looking it up in a dictionary, there's a few that can be referenced together here. And it turns out there are 4 types that they mention here. When I looked up, okay, what's the exact difference of Pluots and Apriums? Well, turns out there's also Plumcot. It's like Pluot with extra of the letters. And an Apriplum. I had heard of a Plumcot before, I think, and I assumed that was just a weird way of saying Pluot or something. I had never heard of an Apriplum. But here's the thing. The Pluot and Aprium are trademarks for a particular hybrid fruit. It's a trademark, whereas I need to look deeper into this, exactly what it means. Same with Pluot. Whereas the other ones are just a general fruit of that type. So I guess actually Plumcot and Apriplum are the more general ones, and these ones are trademarked terms or something that have caught on. It's similar to how kiwis, some people have noted, can be called Chinese gooseberries, and that the word kiwi fruit was actually like one company's brand of it going off and now is sort of copied. Sort of like how you call things like you might say grab a Kleenex, which is a brand, to mean a tissue. You might say Xerox that paper, if you're old-fashioned and have a Xerox thing, which is a company. You might say, I think even Velcro might be a company. A lot of stuff like that we just give normal words are actually brands that just sort of somehow caught on and made their word go everywhere. Sort of weird. Shows a lot about how much brands have a grip on our society. So that could be a fun episode topic someday, all of those. But I guess maybe they're just calling these Pluots and Apriums because that one trademark did really well and caught on around different stuff. I'll research that more. Maybe we should be calling them Apriplums and Plumcots. Now, they have different percentages, so you can make any sort of variety. Even if you just had the same type of apricot and the same type of plum, there's different percentages. You can mix them and stuff. And different, you could do other types and so many combos. So look at all of these stone fruits that could be growing on the same tree. Different combos and different types. Now, I'm not going to bore you with like a whole mukbang or anything, but I do want to try the smallest apricot I've seen in a while. I don't think it's the smallest one I've ever seen. I saw a pretty small one once. I think this is, one of the smallest. And I also want to try the difference between this. Wait, this one was the Pluot, they said on the sign. Even though they had Pluots at least in quotes, I don't know, of like every color and shape. Not shape, but a lot of sizes. They're all relatively spherical. And then this one, which is almost more oblong and different tone of color. Kind of a different texture. It almost feels fuzzy-ish, sort of like feels more of a texture of an apricot as well. So this one was the Aprium, I believe. I think I might like these more because, I don't know just about these two, how they grew or whatever, their taste, but in general. Because plums are good, but plums are not one of the top 5 fruits. And apricots, to me, might be. But, it's a highly contentious topic to me. Top fruits, oh boy, I could go on a long rant about that someday. The fruit tier list will be like a 20-hour stream because I'll have a lot to say about that. Okay, so let's try just a little bite out of these and then I won't bore you with too much eating. Here's a tiny apricot. Okay, this one actually had a pretty bad ratio for the pit. Actually a smaller than usual pit, but the apricot shrunk more than the pit shrunk. It's all right. Now, sometimes the smaller fruits can be the sweeter ones sometimes. Not like as a rule, but when you grow big ones, there are times where it sacrifices flavor by sort of spreading out the sweetness throughout more of it instead of concentrating it. So Sometimes you'll find like a smaller strawberry sweeter than a big one. Although not always. I'm still a fan of them getting the strawberries bigger. We want those with forks and knives as well. Okay. Now test Pluot versus Aprium. That's good. The skin's a bit tart, but I like tart things. The inside tastes like, yeah, definitely tastes like it's like mostly plum with a slightly apricotish thing. How about this one? Is it going to be vice versa? This one tastes more like half and half. That's really good. Yeah, this one I need to eat the whole one. It'll be quick. I'll add a little soundtrack while I chew, which we'll get this instead. This little cool thing someone mailed me. Okay. Now, looking back at our chat, thank you all for joining me with all of your comments and thoughts and such. Now, there are plenty of other topics I was interested in talking about over the course of this weekend or next week, but I'm going to wrap up today's stream pretty soon because I mostly wanted to just do a little night celebration. It has now hit 11 o'clock, which is getting on the later end to be loud outdoors here, although it is Friday night, but still going to wrap up our stream before long. So make sure that you're ready for, I will probably be back with a stream in just another day or two with some more fun things. And one of the streams I'm going to do soon is going to relate to a weird challenge I've been trying mathematically with magic cards, which even if you think you'll find that boring, still try out watching it because it's a quite mathematical challenge I'm doing. But there also will be the snack break in a couple days, so I don't know if the next stream will be before or after that. And I am going to be getting back to posting shorts here. I actually have a couple filmed that I need to edit down. So, a lot of fun stuff will be coming. And definitely make sure you've seen the Collat's Conjecture in Binary episode on the Combo Class channel. That one's linked in the description. And if anyone really wants to support us with our cool dream and help me have more ability to hire people to help me film and edit and stuff and get more stuff to you guys, there is now the memberships thing on here on this channel as well as the Patreon I've had, even though there's nothing cool on the memberships yet, but there will be later. I'll let you know. So thanks to all of you for joining me. I love all of my combo lords and appreciate your fruit, appreciate your light when other things could be dark around you, and appreciate your weird animals like squirrels that are around. Next stream, I'll let you folks know if those nuts have vanished. I would be quite surprised if they haven't vanished by next stream. Maybe I'll even manage to catch them vanishing in the hands of a squirrel on film. You never know. So, I will see you guys again before long. Let's keep building our way up to not having the M/5 subscriber special be too long from now. Absolutely marvelous that we have hit 166,666. Oh man, I said it again. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say 666 with the candles again. Okay. That we have hit that so quickly is just absolutely marvelous. It's been less than a year that this channel has been alive. That's wild, baby. I love it. So let's keep doing that. Keep building our combo lords. There's also a Discord and a subreddit and fun things like that if you want to chat more with other combo lords, and I try and check those when possible too. So love you all. Catch you in the next one, and have a good day.
or night or whatever time or whatever it is for you.